Welcome to 574 Sports here at 91.1 The Globe. I'm Laura Hoover.
And I'm Spencer Buttermore. Today, Brad Stoltzfus is in studio with the Crossroads League Athlete of the Week, as well as Tanner Camp sits down with the Maple Leaf Athlete of the Week.
We're also going to take a look at the wrap-up of all the fall sports and the beginning of all the winter sports.
All that and much, much more coming up right here on 574 Sports on 91.1 The Globe.
Welcome to 574 Sports. My name is Tanner Camp, and along to my right here we have senior Billy Geschke from the men's basketball team. He is this week's Maple Leaf Athlete of the Week. That week he had 27 points while shooting 64% from the three-point and 94% from the free throw line. He's leading his team right now to a 2-1 start to the season. He had 18 points against Lawrence Tech, 33, which is a career high for him, against Governor State, and 20 points against Calumet College. First off, Billy, congratulations on this award. Definitely. How does it feel to be this week's Maple Leaf Athlete of the Week?
It feels good. You know, it's a great accomplishment, and, you know, I kind of stay humble about it too, though. I don't really talk about it with much people. I really just talk to my family about it. But, you know, it's a pleasure and it's an honor, and, you know, it just feels great to be Athlete of the Week.
Way to stay humble right there. That's a great mindset. And speaking of that, going into those 3 games, especially knowing that it's your last year here at Goshen College, what was your mindset going into those games?
You know, just stay aggressive. You know, I've always been aggressive on the offensive end, like throughout my whole basketball career, and you know that was kind of like the main objective for me. Is just to always like be efficient on the offensive end, and you know, I felt like I definitely delivered in those 3 games, and you know, I'm looking to keep doing that as the season goes on.
And you definitely delivered, and we are very excited for as the entire season goes on. And I talked to you about, you know, it is your final year here at GC. You've done a lot. So what did you do over the summer to prepare for your final season as a Maple Leaf?
You know, I worked on a lot of my game, especially on the defensive end. I played in a Pro-Am league over the summer back in my hometown, and there was a lot of good athletes on the team, a lot of Division I players, overseas players, and I think that was definitely my mindset, is to be a better defensive player, because you know, that's something I've always needed to work on throughout my whole basketball career, and, you know, I just want to keep working on that as the season goes on, too.
Turn those weaknesses into a strength, and again, also shown with that with this team. How would you say that so far that the team is doing? You know, we just started through 3 games in, 2-1, pretty good start. So how would you say the team is doing, both in terms of the actual games and then just the overall chemistry level within the group?
I think we're doing pretty solid so far. You know, 2-1's not a bad start. You know, we could have been 3-0 possibly over the last weekend. But, you know, I think with team chemistry, I think this has been the closest group of guys that we've had that, like, have been together. And, like, on and off the court, we're always keeping each other up, always keeping a positive mindset, you know, always trusting one another. I think if we stick with that process, getting better in practice, I think we're going to come a long way in the season.
And that connection helps both off the court, and you said on the court, it definitely shows with that. So far, again, still early in the season. We got a long season ahead of us. But what would you say that your favorite moment of this season, whether it be in a game, whether it even be preseason or anything before that, what would you say your favorite moment has been so far?
I think so far is winning our first home game, because, you know, that's my last first home game ever as a Goshen Maple Leaf, and it just felt good getting that win, and, you know, that was definitely, like, the big, like, thing I wanted to do, was win our last first home game, so it felt good winning that. And
again, a very, very good good first win to show the home crowd, since they will not be back in action till around late November, so great start for that. And then final question is that what are you most looking forward to? Again, last season you've got one more chance to kind of make a name for yourself. What are you most looking forward to?
Probably definitely get into the Crossroads League and get into conference play. You know, that's when it's bigger go home, honestly, because I think that's when the season starts to count and it really starts to matter. You know, every game matters, obviously, especially for my last year. Like, I want to make every game count, but there's just something about the Crossroads Conference that just makes it just care a little bit more.
And especially for men's basketball, always a challenge. Very good teams. Going to be very exciting to see how the Maple Leafs do this year. So with that, any final thoughts, comments, inspirational quotes that you want to give?
No, I don't think so. No, I'm good.
All right, cool. Billy, once again, congratulations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll be right back here on 574 Sports.
91.1 The Globe on 574 Sports. My name is Spencer Buttermore. Now, Tanner Camp and I are going to talk a little bit of volleyball. Unfortunately, the Maple Leafs lost to Grace College by a score of 3-0, ending their season for the 2017 campaign. They went 12-19 overall, 4-14 in conference play. And Tanner, you were on the call of the other night's game against Grace College, and what did you see from the team? It was a 3-0 loss, but what were some of the positives they can look forward to go into the next season?
Well, one of the big positives was that they can play with those top teams. I mean, part of it is they had such a big recruiting class, one of the best ones in the Crossroads actually going into the season. And part of it was that of those 3 sets that they lost, 2 went into extra points, including the last one, which was, I believe it was 29-27, the final score. So it just shows that, and they're only losing 2 seniors in Kirsty Schwarzenjuber and Megan Gerke. So they're going to bring basically everyone else back, and I know that they're already starting on some stuff for next season, from my understanding, and so I know that they're going to be prepared for that and get the newbies their feet a little more wet and get ready for next year for their sophomore campaign.
Yeah, they did have a lot of freshmen playing for a lot of time here this season, and for all these points. So you have to think that by now that they're kind of already ready to go for that next season. They can already know what to expect. But once you start out, I mean, in your freshman year, especially since volleyball, it starts right when school starts. They're trying to get adjusted to the whole college thing. You have to think it's going to be a little tough on the freshmen to kind of get going, and that might have been due to the slow start they had on the volleyball team.
And absolutely, it's a big class, accounts from probably about half the team, and like you said, adjusting to a new level of sport from high school to college, and adjusting to the academics and the campus itself. But now that they've gotten that experience and played a significant number of points, next season they should be in full swing and ready to go. And I could see a good number of those freshmen even being put in starting spots for next year. So I know Jim Ruthier is really looking forward to working with them over the summer.
Yeah, and taking a look at the conference season for the Maple Leafs, once again, they went 4-14 in conference play. They had a good stretch there towards the end of September. They picked up 3 of their 4 conference wins. They were able to defeat Taylor on September 22nd, defeated Spring Arbor University as well as Mount Vernon University. And then they kind of had a big gap, and they didn't have any matches from September 29th all the way up until October 11th. So a really big gap right there. So that you have to think that kind of plays a part within how many conference games you guys do win on the season.
Definitely, absolutely. And I know Jim Ruthier explained at the beginning of the season that one of their goals was to stay consistent with their play, both just in matches and throughout the entire season. And that sometimes happened for certain different sets. They would start off really well, but all of a sudden they would just kind of die down a little bit. So I think that's something that he's going to continue to emphasize, because it is really important. As you said, a little stretch where they were at really great. 3 of their 4 wins were during a little 4-match stretch, and then there was a long stretch where they just couldn't really get much going. So consistency is going to be something that they need to focus on as you just play, as they learned from this season, and they're going to learn next season too.
And so with the offseason coming up here, their season is over, ended at 12-19, 4-14 in the conference. Tanner, in your eyes, what is one thing that they need to kind of work on over the postseason in order to get ready for the 2018 campaign?
They just need to improve the freshman class, because it's going to count for a majority of their roster, and if they can get better, that's going to be very useful. I mean, you've got some key players coming back: Allie Rohr, Haley Vandervelde, Lindsay McQuinn, Darian Moss, and those are already fantastic players. And the idea that they're bringing in some more freshmen who did very well this year, if they can improve, this team could be really dangerous both next year and even the year after that. So improving the freshman class and getting them that next step they need to have a very successful season.
And so that's going to wrap up the volleyball season for us here on 91.1 The Globe. We'll update you on some of the things they've been working on in the gym coming up here in the next coming weeks, and also obviously next year we're going to be getting ready for the 2018 season right here on 91.1 The Globe. So Tanner, thank you for sitting down with me and talking some Goshen College women's volleyball. We're going to take a quick timeout, but we'll be back here on 91.1 The Globe and 574 Sports. Back here on 91.1 The Globe, my name is Spencer Buttermore once again, here with William Troyer. Now we're joined by Allison Prigge as well. Now we're going to be talking some women's basketball. Allison Prigge is a player on the women's basketball team, and Will and I got a chance to call the game that happened on Halloween last Tuesday as they took on the Aquinas College Saints. It was a tough loss for the Maple Leafs in that one, by a score of 44-39. They had a little bit of a rough start there in the first quarter, Will.
Yeah, the Maple Leafs came out a little bit slow. They were down 24-14 going into halftime. A big defensive game by the Maple Leafs, so they were just slow the Aquinas College Saints. So that's a good sign for the Maple Leafs looking ahead, as they're a very young team with a lot of freshmen coming in.
Yeah, speaking of being a young team, we talked to Coach Steph Miller before the game, and that's one of the talking points that she really wanted to own in on, is that they did bring in a lot of freshmen this year, and a lot of those freshmen are getting playing time. Allison, how have you been seeing the freshmen adjust here so far in the season? I know you guys are only 2 games in, but you guys have had quite a few practices as well.
Right, we've been practicing since the beginning of the year. I think they've adjusted really well, especially for kind of being just thrown to the wolves, you know. The biggest thing that I think they've had to adjust to is the physicality and the pace of college basketball compared to high school basketball. It's just a completely different game, but I think that they've adjusted really well.
Yeah, you know, one thing that Coach Miller wanted to talk about too is you talked about the aggressiveness and kind of the physicality of the game. And Holy Cross, when they did play Holy Cross, they did have quite a few turnovers in that game. Now, they were able to limit those turnovers against Aquinas College, but there were still quite a few number of turnovers going into that game. And they came out after the halftime break. They were trailing by 10, 24-14, but able to make a little bit of a run there to start off the third quarter, and Carly O'Neill knocked down a few big threes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that with both games being at home and so early in the season, the nerves kind of got to us a little bit, I would say, especially because we are such a young team, so inexperienced, that kind of being under the lights, you know, I think got to us a little bit. The pressure got to us. Yeah,
so taking a look at this weekend, you guys are going to be traveling up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to play in the Cardinal Stritch Classic. That's going to be a 2-game series. There's going to be one on Friday night as well, game on Saturday, depending on who you guys win. It's going to be taking on kind of a little tournament, a mini tournament, if you say, with 4 teams. So what's a few things you guys have been working on here in practice this week in order to prepare for this weekend's tournament?
Right. One thing that we talked about for sure was Cardinal Stritch has been to nationals the last couple of years, and with them being such an experienced team and us being so inexperienced, our offense is kind of struggling right now. So one thing that Coach kind of talked about is the only thing that's going to help is time and experience that comes with that. So, you know, we're just going to keep pushing and trying to get some buckets, but like we're really focusing on our defense because we know that that's something that we can control. No matter who we're playing, we're going to mix it up with some zone and man sets, and just hoping that our defense can keep us in games right now.
Now, taking a look back at the Aquinas game once again, it was a 44-39 loss, but they were down by 10 at the halftime break. But coming out in the third quarter, Carly O'Neill was lights out from beyond the arc to start off the third quarter. I think she knocked 2 down in a row right there to get the Maple Leafs back into the game. But she's been one of the leading scorers so far here for the team, and they kind of really need to find another player to step up. Will?
Yeah, when they were running low on the shot clock, they would look to Carly O'Neill. They're going to need to find somebody else that can step up and knock down a big shot when they need it. That's going to definitely be something they need to look for going ahead in this season if they want to improve.
And they're definitely going to want to be looking forward to finding another leading scorer. I mean, Carly O'Neill is the only one to be at double digits for both games so far here to start off the season. She had 13 against Aquinas College, but they weren't able to get the job done, as just going down the stretch there, the Aquinas College Saints were able to make the free throws to go on to win the victory. So they'll be playing in the Cardinal Stritch Classic this weekend. That's going to be up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be right back here on 574 Sports on 91.1 The Globe. Buttermore here for 574 Sports. We're going to be talking some men's soccer and also some men's basketball here with Brad Stoltzfus, Tanner Camp, and also Zack Begley. First, let's start off by talking about the men's soccer team. All 3 of you gentlemen have been able to cover quite a few games here for the team. The team sits right now at 11-4-2 overall, 4-2-2 in the conference, and they're coming off a pretty tough loss over a couple days ago to the Indiana Wesleyan Wildcats, which was on the road by a score of 2-0. Guys, what can you tell us about that game?
Well, a tough one, but Indiana Wesleyan's always at the top of the conference. They're a team that just doesn't lose too often at home. But for Goshen, they played a good game, and Johan Escalante, his 3rd time winning Crossroads League Player of the Week on defense. He's been having a huge season, so Goshen does have a chance on Saturday to submit their spot to host a Conference League match. I think even though it was a loss, they can find their strengths and what they need to work on from that game so they can win on Saturday.
And I agree with you on that, again, with this Saturday going against Grace and being one of the other teams that they'll be going up against for home field advantage. So the idea that, if they beat Grace, it would be a good win. It's going to be at home. It should be a great environment. And I think they are going in with that mindset that if they can beat Grace, they know for a fact that they're going to get to host, which is a huge advantage in the Crossroads. They've done very well, and you know that head coach Aaron Patrick is going to be doing everything possible to try and prepare them for this very important match.
Yeah, I know Grace sits right now in second place in the Crossroads League standings. Spring Arbor up there, but not rounding out the first half of the lineup there, Indiana Wesleyan, and then it comes to Goshen, receiving votes right now in the nation to be nationally ranked. But yeah, home field advantage is such a key, especially since Goshen's student corps are such a big supporter at those soccer games.
I mean, you got to imagine that everyone's going to be turning up for that game. It's a very important game in the season for the Maple Leafs, and a win will definitely get them in and hosting a Crossroads League tournament game. If they end up losing, they still have a chance because they have the advantage over Huntington. Again, Goshen's only lost twice in conference, and they've drawn 2 times, and they've played well in both of those losses. It's just the other teams have just had a little bit of the upper advantage.
Yeah, so a little bit tougher on that one. So, like we said, the 2-0 lost, and then also going back to October 21st, they traveled all the way down to Mount Vernon Nazarene, able to get the win on that one, though, by a score of 1-0. And so now soccer season is almost wrapping up, but we're going to take a quick look at the men's basketball team who got their start earlier this week as they took on Lawrence Technological University. Zack Begley and myself were on that call. A great win by the Maple Leafs to start off the season, 82-77, kind of an up-and-down pace. Brad, you were also on the sideline for that game as well. Tanner, you were on the bench with the team.
Also on the sideline.
Also on the sideline, technically. So, Brad, what was one thing that you saw from that game that was huge for the Maple Leafs?
Well, you got to imagine that first game of the season is always one where you're still trying to find yourself as a team. And so I thought it looked like the guys' effort was the biggest thing you can take out of that game. It's just unfortunate that...
So now taking a look at the men's basketball team, they picked up their first win of the season in the season opener, 82-77 over Lawrence Technological University. Did a good job. The effort was there. And what else can we take away from that game, guys?
Yeah, well, again, they're still trying to find themselves as a team from what I saw. And it's still good to have types of players that are still encouraging each other. And I think this team, once they get closely knit as the season goes on, the success will come with it.
And again, speaking for being a part of the men's basketball team, we've had a big emphasis so far this season of defense because that's what it's going to ultimately help us win games. That our offense is going to come from our defense. So I know that was a big point of emphasis. We did a great job. There were obviously a few hiccups, but that comes with the first game of the season. You're trying to learn from that, and that just is what is going to come. Again, a great first win for John Trope in the Trope era, as it has been declared as. So a great start for him. And I know he's going to really help push us for these upcoming games, as some of them are not going to be as easy, and we know that. Crossroads, especially once we get to conference, that's not going to be easy. Everyone knows that there are some tough teams in Bethel and IWU, so I know his focus is going to be challenge us with a few non-conference teams, and then once we get to Crossroads, it's going to be we're going to be prepared for that, and again, we're going to do our best to practice really hard and try to really make a big jump this season.
Well, I mean, obviously looking at the first game of the year, as everyone else has been talking about, I mean, it was a good first win. They gave up too many efficient shots. The other team shot about 50%, which is not what you're looking for on the defense side of the ball, as Trofe pointed out in the interview you had with him. But I think the defense will come as the season goes along. Sometimes early in the year you don't play as good as defense, but the offense is really good. Obviously, Christian Greider had 32 points on the night. Only outpaced by Lawrence Tech player Devontae Miles with 34, but I mean, it's still good to see a player come out and have a 30-point game. He also led the team in rebounds with 8, so that was he had a very good game. Obviously, Devin Heath Granger led the offense well. He led the team with 7 assists, which is a good output for a player, especially at the college level. So I think it's, they had a lot of good things going for them so far early in the season. So I think that's a testament to Trofe really getting the team prepared for game number 1. And I think if that's anything showing for going forward, that we're going to have a pretty good season.
And we're going to have a lot more to talk about here in the next coming weeks as we just are one game into the basketball season here. So the next basketball game for the men's team is going to be coming up here. They're going to be taking on Calumet College of St. Joseph's. That's going to be played in University Park, Illinois for the Jaguar Tip-Off Classic. So it'll be a 6:30 start local time, but it'll be 6:30 our time, and then 5:30 p.m. local time. We wish them the best of luck as they continue on their season. We're going to take a quick break here on 574 Sports. My name is Spencer Buttermore.
For 574 Sports, I'm Brad Stoltzfus. Today we sit down with Ollie Smith, a sophomore forward for the Goshen College men's soccer program. Ollie, how you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Brad. How are you?
Real good. And this is the second time now that you've won Crossroads League Athlete of the Week. The last time was back on September 11th, and most recently you won it now. What does this recognition mean to you?
Well, first of all, when I won it, I didn't actually realize because I never knew how to check it. So Coach put in our group chat that, congratulations to Ollie Smith for winning Crossroads League Player of the Week. And I was like, whoa, like, what does that actually mean? So I researched into it, and it goes off like your stats and all that kind of stuff, like assists, goals. So it just meant to me that all the hard work I've been putting in, and you get recognition for it, it just feels like it feels like a great achievement.
Who can you attribute, or what can you attribute your success to this year?
Probably a number of things. I would say the team as a whole. Like, obviously, when I'm on the pitch, I can't get in those positions without, like, say, Spencer feeding me the ball or Ethan. It wouldn't be without Coach Patrick either, because, like, his training sessions and the way he's developed me as a player, like, that's just come to how I've been playing today. And probably just, like, the whole family atmosphere of the team. Like, we're such a close-knit team this year, it's like everything just flows perfectly, so probably all those things have helped.
Back on September 30th, you guys played University of St. Francis for the first Crossroads League match of the year, and you scored 3 goals in that game. How were you feeling leading up to that game and even throughout the game?
Well, because our team has been doing so well lately. We've had so many clean sheets and won multiple games, which hasn't happened in a lot of years for Goshen, so we were all just feeling confident. Like, we knew how good we were, like, technically, and like mentally as well. We prepared for it. So, and personally, I would say, leading up to the game, I always watch instat footage of me playing, which is where the games get broken down into like your best bits, like your passes, your like the assists, the goals. So like before every game, I make sure I do that to see like what I can work on, and just to give me confidence of I've done something well. So going into it, you just like relax and play your own game, and if the opportunity arises like to take a shot, like you've got to have the confidence to do it. And luckily that happened twice in the space of like 5 minutes. So I just took the opportunity and just went for it. So.
Back on Wednesday night, you guys hit the road, took on Bethel College, and Bethel was up 2-0 at halftime, and then Macias had a goal in the 69th minute. It seemed like at that point you guys had a lot of momentum in your favor until in the 78th minute when Bethel put the final cap 3-1. How were you guys feeling after the game, and what will the team be focusing on moving into Saturday's road match at Huntington?
Well, after the game, we felt quite kind of disappointed. The first half we didn't play as well as we should have, like physically and mentally. I don't think we were like in the game as much as we should have been. And after the game, it was more because it's with Bethel. It's like the rivalry. We were kind of disappointed and disheartened, but at the same time, Coach Patrick said to us that I think we kind of needed this loss to keep us back on track, because we had been winning so many games. We kind of thought it's just going to keep happening. So it kind of brought us back down to that level where like we're confident, we're clinical, but at the same time we need to be focused on each game as it comes, not like get too carried away.
What's your favorite part about playing for the Goshen College men's soccer program?
I would say my favorite part would be the team atmosphere. Like I said before, it's a family. We're all best mates. Like we get on so well, and we all just want the best for each other. So it's a great atmosphere to be in.
All right, Ollie, thanks for your time.
Cheers, thank you.
For 574 Sports, I'm Brad Stoltzfus.